白岩学園3年 B 組の皆さん、こんにちは。
All right. Good afternoon, or evening, or whatever. So, hello to all three of you that are here, or whatever. So, hi. I haven't streamed in quite some time, and, yeah, I'm rusty. Good heavens, I am freaking rusty. All right, I'm just going to dive directly into this topic, because it seems totally reasonable to do so. This is huge here in America. There are multiple... okay, so anyone who is not in America, there is some kind of a law that is being pushed in Senate at the moment or whatever, and it's to not necessarily to criminalize per se, but they simply wish to push restrictions on criticizing a certain ethnic group. We're going to call them Canaanites for now. And this law, the federal law that's being pushed, pertains to college campuses. Okay. However, you'll note that there are multiple states that have also passed this exact same definition. A couple of the states that come to mind are like, South Dakota, Idaho, gosh, I can't remember. There's like an entire litany of these. I think Tennessee is one of them, which is unfortunate, but this is just how it goes. Anyhow, this definition of anti-Semitism is a bit of a thing, and the topic is pretty freaking short and pat, so I can kind of get it out of the way right now. Let's see here. I think so I'm using OBS. And here in OBS, oh good heavens, let me see if I can get rid of all of my porn tabs. 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just show you very quickly like a little screen grab or something. Let me see if I can get that. I'm using an older version of OBS because for whatever reason the newer version, I have no idea why, is not working out well for me, which is lamentable, but whatever. So I'm doing this this is not perfect. Please understand. I know this is not perfect, but whatever. Anyhow, okay, so I'm going to do a quick screen show or whatever, and I'm just going to read you the definition. This is important, okay? So I say this is quick because I'm being serious now. I'll go into two main points after the fact, but the definition is firstly important. Here we go. Here's the here it is. So anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, comma, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right here. What's the definition? Think about this for the next 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, here it is. The Bucharest plenary, whatever, decided to adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. Obviously, they're trying to make it legally binding, but this is the working definition. Okay, working definition of anti-Semitism. What's the definition? I'm going to tell you right now. Here's the definition. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. That's it. That's the definition. Okay? Everything after that comma, which may, everything after that comma is just, these are possible examples. Okay? This is a direction of where one may take the definition, okay? So it says, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. But then again, it may not. The word may is incredibly important here. It may or may not be expressed as hatred towards Jews. It may or may not be rhetorical and physical manifestations. It may or may not be directed toward Jews or non-Jews. It may or may not refer to their property. It may or may not refer to community institutions. It may or may not refer to religious facilities. Everything after this comma, everything after that comma is simply an example. That's it. Continue going down further. Manifestations might include. Okay, up here, may, might. These are examples. Yes, obviously, they're going to come and, attack anyone that does any of these things. But these are simply may or may not. It may be calling for aid or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion. Or it may not. Okay? Remember, not limited to, Okay? Contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, the workplace, and the religious sphere could, taking into account the overall context, could include, but are not limited to, may or may not. They may or may not, okay? They might include these things, but they're not limited to these things. These are simply examples. What's the definition? The definition is anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. I cannot stress this enough. This is important. Why is it important? I've got two reasons why it's important. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and check on chat for a moment just to see how everyone is doing. I'm quite confident there are well over 7 people here and there. Oh, no, there's not. There's like 3 people. All right, whatever, that's fine. Okay, at any rate, for those who are popping by later, the point still stands. The definition is a certain perception of Jews. I'm going to type that in the chat. I've got this in the description of the video. 1 second. I'm going to put this into the chat because I want it to be just generally there for people to see. Okay. It's a certain perception of Jews. I've got 2 points on this that are both very, very, very important. And I don't have anyone to tell this to. Like, I'm not plugged into academic circles. I am not plugged into media. I'm not plugged into government. I'm not plugged into anything. So if you guys can spread this somehow in some way, I would love it. Obviously, I don't really, I would love it if somebody would be like, oh yeah, okay, tell me about this. That'd be cool. But it's not necessary in the least. I want the information to be out there. That's what I care about. So spread it, take credit for it. Don't care. People need to know this. People need to know this. 2 points. Point number 1 is the phrasing certain perception. That's really freaking vague. That can mean anything literally, okay? When they passed these laws to say anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, comma, which may or may not, it may be one of these things, it may not be one of these things, who frickin' knows? When they passed these laws to say a certain perception of Jews, that's vague. It can mean absolutely anything. They're giving themselves carte blanche to accuse you and anyone of being anti-Semitic because it's fundamentally, and I quote, a certain perception. Until the 2 words certain perception are clearly outlined as to what they mean, until that phrase is outlined, the definition is meaningless. Why? Because it can mean anything at all. How do I know that? They say, I'm going to go back to the screen grab just for a moment. Just because. So, here we go. Whatever. I wish that they didn't have this cookie thing here. Whatever. Anyway, a certain perception which may be expressed. I cannot stress that enough. All of these things, making mendacious, dehumanizing, or stereotypical allegations. Remember, coming back up to, where is it? Not limited to, but are not limited to. Remember that. Accusing Jews as being accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed. So, accusing them of real wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. So, even that on its own, like, remember, it's not limited to this, but this does include it. Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person. Now, I'll go ahead and just say, I agree with the concept that one ought to, if a person has done something wrong, you hold that person responsible for the wrongdoing. So in this one, I do think that there is something to this. However, I also think that patterns exist, trends exist, statistics exist, groups exist. We, speaking as a white male, we are being told as a group that we are wrong. Meanwhile, here, as a group, they're saying they can't be held accountable as a group. Isn't that funny? They're giving themselves an exemption, while meanwhile, white people, it's perfectly fine to attack us as a group. Anyhow, the thing that I'm focusing on, obviously, is real or imagined. I just think that's funny, the fact that they would have to put that in there. So if something is imagined, well, yeah, of course, it's not good to, accuse something of something that's imaginary. But what if it's real? If it's real, well, I mean, that's a whole other thing entirely. Anyhow, keeping in mind, not limited to, but are not limited to, okay? Accusing Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Well, fair enough. Again, an individual, you can talk about an individual who has invented or exaggerated the Holocaust. You cannot say it is all people of one ethnicity or another, but you can say that a particular individual has exaggerated something. I suppose one could simply list these things. Let's see, at the very end, holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the State of Israel, which is funny for a lot of reasons. I'm quite confident that Chuck Schumer will go to great lengths to say that he is an ardent defender of Israel, but he cannot be held accountable or responsible for anything that Israel does, even though he is a proponent of Israel. One must assume, I suppose, that even Benjamin Net and also Yahoo cannot be held responsible for the actions of Israel. But whatever, anyway, just keep in mind, but are not limited to. Okay? Why is that important? Because the actual definition is, once again, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. The perception is the key. This is the actual definition. Oh my gosh, why is my computer being weird? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I'm mildly retarded. All right, I'm going to go back to the chat. We now have... we've got 6.5 people here, possibly including a Guardian Fed. Everyone say something nice about your Guardian Fed. So the phrasing certain perception, that's vague. And again, this is carte blanche. They're giving themselves carte blanche, okay? If you say anything at all that they take offense to, they will just say it's a certain perception. That's it. It doesn't matter what you say. As long as they take offense to whatever it is that you've said, they will say, oh, you are manifesting a certain perception of Jews, and I'm now really upset at you because XYZ reason. So this is a problem, and I think that this needs to be called out. I believe that this is reprehensible. I would love to see a lawyer, one who is of my own tribe rather than of an alien tribe. I would love to see an ambitious person take this to court and do something about it. Seriously, this is important. Okay, so that's number one. The phrasing, certain perception, is vague. Now here's point number two, which is also interesting. They use the word perception. Anti-Semitism is perception. if you perceive Jews in a certain way, you are anti-Semitic. Perception. They are now targeting pattern recognition. Consider that for just a moment. This is moving directly into thought crime, is what's happening here. So point number 1 is it's vague. Point number 2, thought crime. Thinking about Jews in one way or another is anti-Semitism and now punishable. What is the nature of this perception? That's not outlined. I'm going to go back to the definition, and I want everyone to note that they don't have a clear definition. If I recall correctly, I went through this like a month and a half ago or something, so I'm a little rusty on this. I haven't thought about it formally in quite some time, but going by recollection, they do not outline the phrase certain perception. So we're going to go through this and we're just going to read it for the sake of it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the shared screen. I just want to check chat one more time. Hey guys, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. Fishman, what's going on? Zesty Car, howdy do. Noctis, Ambulo, what is it? Sleepwalker, cheers, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Mist, how's it going, boss? Let's see here. Perceiving them as bankers or lawyers or powerful. Yeah, exactly. It's what we all knew is coming, but now it's here. It's soon to be enforced. Yeah, that's entirely possible. My hope is that we can find ways to mitigate the worst of this. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this very, very briefly, because I'm quite confident that you're not going to find an outline of the phrasing certain perception. So let's transition over. There we go. All right, so in the spirit of the Stockholm Declaration that states, quote, with humanity still scarred by anti-Semitism and xenophobia, the International Committee shares a solemn responsibility to fight those evils, end quote. The Committee on Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial called the I.H.R.A. plenary in Budapest 2015 to adopt the following working definition of anti-Semitism. On 26th of May 2016, the plenary in Bucharest decided to adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. Of course, now they want to make it legally binding. Quote, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. Certain perception, very important. Let's look for this phrase, going down, okay? Which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals, and or their so they might be Jews, might not be Jews, might be their property, might not be their property, toward Jewish communities and community institutions and religious facilities, end quote. To guide I.H.R.A. in its work, the following examples may or may not, they might serve as illustrations. Manifestations might include the targeting of the State of Israel conceived as a Jewish collectivity. Isn't that funny? They don't want you to hold them as guilty as a collective. Meanwhile, white people are held guilty as a collective. It's funny. However, criticism of Israel similar to that leveled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. Interesting. Anti-Semitism frequently charges Jews with conspiring to harm humanity and is often used to blame Jews for, quote, why things go wrong, end quote. Well, that's interesting. Conspiring to harm humanity. One wonders what is said about Gentiles in the Talmud. What is said about Gentiles in the Talmud? Okay, I didn't want to... Oh, man, I can't believe I'm going through this right now. I'm going to do a quick little movement over to you. We're going to do... Oh, no. This means me going through my meme folder. I'm not going to go through my meme folder on freaking stream. No, thank you. All right, guys. All right, so there's a phrasing within the Talmud that says kill the best of Gentiles. And I'll look for that momentarily. Anyhow, it's just funny that here we are conspiring to harm humanity. Meanwhile, they have a quote within their holy book that says kill the best of Gentiles. It's funny, isn't it? Anyhow, and it is often used to blame Jews for, quote, why things go wrong, end quote. It is expressed in speech, writing, visual forms, and action, and employs sinister stereotypes and negative character traits. Isn't that funny? Apply any of this to white people. You know, are white people experiencing any of this? One wonders. Anyway, continuing down, contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, and the workplace, and in the religious sphere could, taking into account the overall context, include but are not limited to, and then all these bullet points. Now note that so far here we have not seen a clear delineation of certain perception. I didn't see that in any of this. The phrasing certain perception did not exist in any of this. Let's see if certain perception exists in any of these down here. Let's just see. And actually, before I do that, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a quick little break is what I'm going to do. Oh, geez. You know what? I'm going to go back to the main. There we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. Then I'm going to go and read all the bullet points. But for the moment, we're just going to have, again, a little break. AFK, BRB. This happens to me all the time. I get lost in that track. I love it. And I just forget. And I just keep watching and then miss that I'm supposed to be back. All right, whatever. All right, moving on. Okay, so now we're going to read through the examples, the bullet points. Okay, so here we are. We're going to read through the bullet points. And again, we're going to look for the phrasing of certain perception. Are we going to see the phrase certain perception? I have my doubts, but let's just see. if anything pops in. All right, bullet point. Well, I can't really enumerate them because I don't know how many there are. It's a little less than a dozen, but whatever. Anyway, so here's one. Calling for aid or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or in an extremist view of religion. Okay, to be fair, I don't think it's good to be harming people. I actually agree with that. I wish there was reciprocation of this, but whatever. Continuing, making, again, no, what is it, the phrasing, certain perception? I don't see the phrase certain perception in that one. What if it's in the next one? So let's look for certain perception. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collectives, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or societal institutions. Okay, I didn't see certain perception in there, but let's continue. Next one, accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person, group, or even acts committed by non-Jews. Again, I did not see certain perception in that. Denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, e.g. gas chambers, or intentionality of the genocide of Jewish people at the hands of National Socialist Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II, parenthetical, the Holocaust, end parenthetical. Certain perception was not in there. Let's continue. Next one. Accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Again, certain perception is not in there. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Certain perception was not in that. Continuing, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g. by claiming that their existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Again, a certain perception is not in that. I'm going to say, by the way, I am quickly coming to the conclusion that we should just copy-paste all of these things. Just delete Jews, insert white people. Done. Literally copy-paste everything they're doing and just insert white people. And just be like, yep, white people have a right to self-determination. And claiming that the existence of, for example, America as a racist endeavor is terrible and reprehensible and needs to stop. I think there's something to this. Continuing, certain perception is not in any of that. Let's go down. We only have 4 more to go. Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation. Again, certain perception is not in there. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, e.g. claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis. Once again, certain perception is not in there. Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. Certain perception is not in there. The last one, holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel. Again, certain perception is not in there. And we now have we have 3 final points right here. So we're going to go through here. Anti-Semitic, all we're looking for is, can we find the phrase certain perception? Anti-Semitic acts are criminal when they are so defined by law, parenthetical. For example, denial of the Holocaust or distribution of anti-Semitic materials in some countries, and parenthetical, certain perceptions not in there. Criminal acts are anti-Semitic when the targets of attacks, whether they are people or property, such as buildings, schools, places of worship, and cemeteries, are selected because they are or perceived to be Jewish or linked to Jews. Once again, certain perception is not in there. Finally, anti-Semitic discrimination is the denial to Jews of opportunities or services available to others and is illegal in many countries. Certain perception is not in there. The phrase certain and I'm going down here. I don't see anything about certain perception anywhere. Okay? Here, I'll go. I started with this in this spirit of Stockholm. I'll even go way up here, okay? Working definition of anti-Semitism. Read the full text of the I.H.R.A's non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism and learn more about this important tool with the facts below. Our working definitions are available in multiple languages while we try to ensure the accuracy of all our translations. In the event of any discrepancies, the English translation takes precedence. They don't delineate a certain perception. This is the key. This is the key. A certain perception. Everything hinges on the phrase certain perception. I know that I'm laboring this point. I get it. I understand. I know what a retard I sound like. Believe me, I get it. But I don't think that it's. Oh yeah, what am I doing here? let me go back to the main. Sorry about that. I am an idiot. All right. The thing is that I don't think that this needs to be hammered home to people. I don't think it's as clear as it needs to be made. I think that places like the only two that come to mind are Idaho and South Dakota. But places like Idaho and South Dakota, I think that they need to be thinking in these terms. I do. I think they need to go all in on the definition of anti-Semitism and demand that the phrase a certain perception be clearly outlined. Because if you cannot define something, if your definition does not describe anything at all, or if your definition can describe anything at all, then your definition is meaningless, genuinely meaningless. And I think that because people are going to have their lives ruined over this, people are going to be attacked over such a vague definition that it can mean anything, we need to expose this. This needs to be front and center. I cannot stress this enough. I'm going to go back one more time because I'm an autistic retard. Where are we? Here we are. One more time, because it's important. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. Comma. Everything after that comma, which may be expressed, may or may not be expressed. It might be, but then again it might. Once again, manifestations might include, but are not limited to. Everything after this comma here. Everything after that comma has the qualifier which may be expressed as. Okay? This is the definition. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. Please. Oh, I did it again. Because I am retarded. I wish I wasn't retarded, but I just am. Anyhow. If you can get this out to all 5 of you, if you can get this out to anyone, please do so. Seriously. Because I think that this is an, I don't want to say attack vector because that sounds kind of silly. But this is an angle of approach that I do think is going to bear fruit. So please tell people about this. Tell everyone and anyone that you can think of about this, because this will become important. Again, people's lives are going to hang in the balance. People are going to suffer legal attacks because of the vagaries of this definition. Everyone's going to focus on all the bullet points. I know this because Tim Pool, he talked about this definition, and what did he focus on? He focused on the bullet points. He focused on things like, accusing Jews as a people or Israel as a state, blah, blah, blah. I think Alex Jones did. No. It was Owen Scheuer or something. Owen Scheuer talked about this this quote definition end quote, and he started talking about the bullet points. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about blah blah things stuff. And instead of going to the definition, he was talking about everything after the comma. Owen Scheuer, everything after the comma. Once again, I'm going to be as autistic and ridiculous as I can possibly be here. Owen Scheuer and Tim Pool both were looking at everything after the comma, which may be expressed as, okay, this comma is fundamentally important because the definition is a certain perception of Jews. Okay, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. That's the definition. That's what Tim Pool missed. That's what Owen Scheuer missed. Anyone that is talking about this definition and goes to everything after the comma, they are missing the point. May or may not be expressed. Might include, but are not limited to. Okay? None of that matters. A certain perception of Jews. That's what matters. And we need to be angling all of our attacks on that. Oh, dang it, I did it one last time. Okay, anyhow, now that I've belabored the point for far too long, I'm gonna take off. This is a short stream because it needs to be a short stream. And I basically repeated the same thing like 58 times, and nobody cares. So whatever. Anyhow, all right, guys, I'm going to... Oh, look at that. You see this? I still am doing the... screen grab because I'm an idiot. Anyhow, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let out. I may or may not stream again in the not too distant future, but this is an important topic that I would like to find a way to deal with in some way. Here in California, we don't have any of these laws being passed here yet, so it's sort of weird, I guess. Like, I want to get engaged, but it's hard for me to get engaged because these laws currently don't apply to me. But theoretically, they could. So I don't know. Maybe I'll end up. Maybe I'll find a way to engage meaningfully. I'm not sure. But this is going to be important. So try to get it out there, guys. Spread the word. Do what you can. Anyhow, wrist check. I am wearing a Casio F91W. Absolutely brilliant watch. I highly recommend that everyone and anyone who does not have a watch, even if you do have a wristwatch, the little F91 is a fantastic timepiece. For not a lot of money, you will have something that is more accurate and durable than the average Rolex, and for a fraction of the cost. So highly recommend. Also, everyone say something nice about your guardian Fed. And finally, you can fight the forces of evil with God on your side or without God on your side. I know my choice. And with that, I hope everyone has a good evening. Cheers to everybody. And all right, there you go. All right, good night, guys.